Well, good morning, everybody. It's about 8:15 in southern Maryland. Fluffy says good morning to you, too. And this is the second video I've made this morning. Done a couple of others, but I deleted them. They weren't exactly right. So I'm going to clarify some of the things I said earlier about perpetual war. When we talk about the perpetual war that this country has carried out in the world, since 1945, it's been done for various reasons. From roughly 1945 to, say, 1991, it was against communism. So, it was the fight against communism. Anybody who was for us or our friend was probably anti-communist, whether it be Papa Doc or Baby Doc Duvalier in Haiti, or whether it was Somoza in Nicaragua, or the military dictatorships that we set up everywhere else where we needed to in order to fight communism. So in this country, we did the same thing. I mean, the press was shot through with the references to the fight against communism. The only difference was that whether you were Republican or Democrat, it was a matter of how to fight it, not whether it was something to be worried about at all. For instance, about the Vietnam War, the biggest concern for those that were in political leadership and those in the moderate wing of thought was that the war had been mismanaged. That was what the problem was. It had been mismanaged. And therefore, we should have managed it better so that we would be successful, I guess. And so what that means is that it didn't make any difference that the war was completely wrong, immoral, against international law, and that many of the things we did to support it and to actually escalate and spread it out throughout Southeast Asia were in and of themselves would have been things we would have hung Nazis for at the end of World War II. The so-called secret bombing campaign of Laos and Cambodia, which was not secret to the Laotians and Cambodians because they were the ones getting bombed, helped set up a situation where we have a legacy now that many people in this world have a long memory, and they realize what we've done in the past. For instance, September 11th, 2001, there were many words of sympathy for the United States in this attack and the victims of the attack, which was an atrocity, an egregious crime carried out, and certainly prosecutable and should have been and should be pursued continuously. I mean, the people that planned this attack and ordered it to be carried out are deserving of execution as far as I am concerned, because it was an atrocity. It was inexcusable, every bit as much so as our bombing campaign of Laos and Cambodia and our backing up of a puppet government in South Vietnam whose leader we helped to assassinate when it came time to think about the fact that this man wasn't carrying out our orders properly anymore. So, we have to take a look at these things for what they are. A friend of mine told me one time that we were destroying a culture one village at a time, and this was when I was over in Thailand during the Vietnam War, and that very soon an entire civilization would cease to exist. This at the time, as that I've spoken of in my previous video, was to me a mind-boggling thing to internalize. I just did not believe it at the time, or I didn't understand it, or both. But after a while, I began to understand it, and I do today know exactly what he is talking about. Now, you can go online and read the after-action report of Operation Ajax, the overthrow of Mossadegh. You can look up what we did in Guatemala and Honduras, and from various sources. Time to go to the library and start reading. You're not going to be told about it in school books or by schoolmasters and teachers and newspapers. They're just not going to tell you about it. And because it's not useful to know, what is more useful to know is football statistics. That's very useful information, or what's happening to Britney Spears, or what's happening on on the most popular television programs that everybody likes to watch. That's very important. But what I'm talking about doesn't seem to be important to anybody at all. So I would tell you to please sit down and consider this. Do we want the perpetual war to continue? Do you think it is sustainable financially? Well, I can guarantee you it's not sustainable. We are beginning to pay the price for it. We will continue to pay the price for it until one day we can't, and the perpetual war will end, and then we will be forced to face the consequences of our actions of the last 50 years.